One of the things, first things I'd like to throw at you is a provocation. In that until the age of 22, 24 years old, all of us have been through school, high school, college, sports in some sort of form. And we all accept a lot of things as being, natural. So the fact that there is a coach in sports, that the coach relates directly, don't delegate that with the players, that there is a locker room talk, lots of pressure being put on the players before the game, straight feedback. Players that are playing well play, players that are not playing so well are sold or stay on the bench, where poor performance is dealt with, where amazing performance is recognized and awarded, where people are treated differently according to their talents and performance and track record. All this is natural, At school, the same thing. I mean, the best students, they are in the RJ's list and the 10% top. They got scholarships. They got recognized. They got named. There was a ranking in sports. And yes, there are people at the bottom, and that's the idea, that people at the bottom feel bad and they want to go to the top. So yeah, that's the idea, to create attention. So we live with that and we think that all makes sense. And then at the age of 22, 24, we go to the corporate world. And all of a sudden, a lot of things that were so natural and made so much sense in a corporate world because of many things, peer pressure, politically correct way of doing things, whatever you want to label it, you start feeling that you cannot do what you used to do before. So a lot of people, for example, in big corporations say, I don't have time to recruit people. I send somebody else. I'm too high up in the organization, and I think the HR people would have to deal with that. I want them to bring me the best talent, then they'll work with me. But I'm not going to do it myself, and I don't have time. I have a busy agenda. Again, can you imagine the coach, saying to somebody else, hey, I don't have time, go talk to my players, go select players, and go, do the locker room talk for me before this very important game because I'm doing something else, managing some paperwork? No. Can you imagine a teacher, a professor coming to class and saying, well, today I'm going to send an assistant to teach because I don't have time for my students, so I'm going to do that. So no, of course you cannot imagine. But when you go to a company, you think it's natural to hire a headhunter, to hire or just to ask somebody at the HR to do this for you. When you go to a big company, you see low performance, and you want to act on it, but somehow people pressure you. This guy has been here for 20 years. It's a low performer for sure, but I mean, maybe next year. I mean, let's give it one more opportunity. And again, it's different from the kind of lives you had before the corporate life. So that's the first provocation I want to throw out there. Why is that when we enter the corporate world, a lot of things that work so well in sports, at school, and were so natural, when it comes to corporate world, it's so hard to implement. And that's one of the things, in my vision, in my opinion, that gets a lot of companies not to be a good or high-performing company. Great companies are formed by great people. Obvious. But so many people forget about it. People think that great companies are formed by great products, great cash flow, great installations, assets, asset base. No. Even in a consumer goods company, what distinguishes you from an average company is the kind of people you can attract, retain, deploy, develop, train, promote within your company. That's it. Because behind a brand that's doing well in the market, you have people that understood consumers, had the insights, execute according to the insights, and translated all that behind a brand. That's why the brand's successful. Not because of the brand. The brand was the second step. First step was to have great people. Okay? So again, great companies can only be formed by great people. Second thing, great people attract more great people. That's important because the opposite is very sad. Mediocre people attract more mediocre people. They like to work together, It's amazing. Mediocre people love to work together because nobody challenges anybody. The targets that they give to each other are kind of, easy. 120% how to get there January 1st. So it's a piece of cake. Everything is fine. The feedbacks in your yearly performance evaluation is always like, you're a great guy. No gaps. I mean, you're terrific. You're going to be the next president of this company one day. You're so great. Mediocre people. They love that. Great people is the opposite. They love to challenge each other. They don't take it personal because they know it's for the best of the business. They know it's not about themselves, about the business. So they know there's no hidden agenda. So you can challenge them in meetings because it's all about what's best for the business. And they like to work with each other because by challenging one another, they keep raising the bar. And that brings the best in you, that forces you to continue to be updated and learn because everybody else is pressuring you. That's why it's so good to hire people that are better than you, because they force you to be better. If you hire a whole bunch of mediocre people that think that you're the greatest guy on earth, you're going to start going like this because you have no incentive, no push to get better. We look at leaders, and one of the traits that we look a lot is the capacity that they have to form, find, recruit, retain, develop people. Because leaders that can only use people that were developed by others, they're good leaders, but they're not the ones that will get you 20 years from now, 30 years from now with the kind of pipeline that you need. Meritocracy. Easier said than done. Again, in sports, of course, it's meritocracy. The good players play. The others don't. In school, of course, if you have an F, you know exactly what it means. You fail. If you have an A, you got the scholarship. Of course. But then you get to the company. Performance evaluations are not that straightforward. Because you're saying, oh, today's a Friday, poor guy. I mean, poor me and poor him. I mean, or poor her. I'll wait for the Monday. And then Monday you're traveling. A year goes by, 2 years, 10 years. And you never said, your coworker, what this person needs to listen. You play God. You play God. You say, no, I'm going to manage it this way. I'm not going to say it today because I think by himself, for some, strange reason, he's going to click to it, get better, and therefore I can avoid this, moment that we're going to have now. Of course, it never happens because this click, it doesn't happen. Constructive feedback is what gets people to get better. In my life, I owe a lot to what I learned to constructive and respectful feedback. That's what gets you to progress, people that are interested in your success. But for that, you have to have tough conversations. It's not everything rosy. You go to a company, you lead a business unit, you have a vacancy, somebody got promoted, and you have to fill that vacancy. I mean, in sports, you go for the best player. But in the company, people start pressuring you and say, well, what about Mike? Mike has been here for 20 years. I mean, he deserves it, Okay, he's not the sharpest tool in the den, but I mean, it's pretty good. People like him. I'm sure it's going to be okay. And then you have Jane, who just joined 2 years ago, and, deserves that big time because built a track record, is a culture ambassador, has potential, is a much better fit. And sometimes if you promote Mike, nobody will ask you questions but Jane. If you promote Jane, Jane won't ask you a question, but everybody else will. And guess what? If you promote Mike, Jane sees through that, and she leaves. And all of a sudden, you're left with only the mediocre people who thinks that this thing of patronizing and promoting the senior guys is the best thing to do, as opposed to meritocracy. The worst thing in a company, since you cannot please everybody, that's another lesson that I learned time and time again. If you cannot please everybody, please the most talented ones. Talented people like to know where they stand because they know life's too short. They know they have other options. Even in tough economies, talented people always have options. And you have to tell them where they stand. This is going well. This is a gap. We do it twice a year. And this is the plans. What's your future here? What you think? What are the next steps? Talented people like that. Talented people are high maintenance people. It's much easier to work with mediocre people in that respect. They never come to you. They try to hide from you. Right? They love the closed doors. Talented people ask you every day, what about my future? Am I doing okay? I have an idea. I don't think this is going well. I think the company's missing this opportunity. I mean, it's high maintenance. But that's much better to have that than to have people that don't want to talk to you. And when you talk to them, they have no ideas. They think the status quo is the best thing that can happen, right? Which is never the case. Take people out of their comfort zone. Whenever we are in a place that's too comfortable, it's bad. That's bad. You have to take from time to time people from their comfort zone because that's when this whole idea of the athlete, 100-meter dashboard, that focus, that thing, oh my God, I had 3 months to learn this new job, that's when you really move to the next level. If you stay 10 years in the same job, not saying the same company, we love people staying 20 years, 30 years in our company, but 10 years doing the same thing, the same job, the same region, I mean, at some point, you get stale. I mean, you get used to the landscape. You don't see, you know, A from B, black from white, because everything has been there for such a long time. And you can only learn this much per day. And as you don't learn because you're used to it, you're not going to recover that going forward. So you're wasting your time. That's the beauty of having great people surrounding you. They give you the energy and the motivation to continue to reinvent, learn, push yourself to the next level. Again, if you have a whole bunch of mediocre people, you're going to feel good about yourself, you know, when you shouldn't. And then the world will continue to do this and you're going to be here.